Hi, this is Teacher Jennifer, and I'm presenting highlights from our second summer school class. Today, you can find all the information on milpitaschat.com. We're going to start off by doing review of the geography. We're going to move on to early American history. And then we're going to go and do a review of the N400. And you can see the presentation up here. We're going to use Series A, Practice 3. And then we're going to move on to Nagasi. So let's get started. So today, let's review some of the geography quiz. So the first question is, name two of the longest, and we're going to write two of the longest rivers in the United States. And this one here is going to be Mississippi. The next one, what ocean is on the east coast of the United States? So we have East Coast, and we have here, we can see the answer to this one is the Atlantic. So sometimes when you see restaurants, they do incorporate the names of oceans. Also, we see down here, what ocean is on the west coast of the United States? And this is one of our local markets in Milpitas. We have Ocean Market, and it is the Pacific Ocean. Let's clear that. And let's move down to the next questions. So the next geography question we have is name one U.S. territory. So what we're trying to do, territory. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to use things that are near at hand to remember the questions and also to remember the answers. So this is a globe. Name one U.S. territory, and we have Guam. Guam. Okay, now one of the things that we have near at hand, it's like a little history lesson in our pocket, is coins, particularly quarters. And when we see quarters, take a look on the back, and a lot of times they have state quarters. So name one state that borders Canada. And one of those states is Alaska. And one of my students, Min, had just taken a trip to Alaska. Finally, let's get down to the other questions that we learned about yesterday. Name one state that borders Mexico. And the one state that borders Mexico is our beautiful state, California. And this is another way that you can remember a lot of things about history and politics, is that if you look at street signs, a lot of times they're named after the presidents, or they're pointing to historical landmarks. In this case, it's pointing to the border of Mexico. The last two, what is the capital of the United States? So I love to follow sports, and many of the sports teams also have names associated with historical events. The capitals, what is the capital of the United States? And of course we have Washington, DC. And they're very proud of their Capitals team and their Nationals baseball team. And the last one, where is the Statue of Liberty? It's always interesting to spot out of state license plates to see what kind of symbols they have. Here they have is the Statue of Liberty, and it is in New York Harbor. So that's the review of the geography questions that we had yesterday. Let's clear that, and we're going to move on. So we talked a little bit about the Pilgrims coming from England, which is you can also say Great Britain. They come over to the east coast of the United States, and one of the first places they went to was Massachusetts. So we have a couple questions that we can answer here. One of the questions would be, what ocean is on the east coast of the United States? And of course, we have the Atlantic Ocean. A couple more questions that we can think about is, if we're talking about this area of the globe, this area is this is Europe. And so one of the questions is, who lived in America before the Europeans arrived? Okay, and who lived in America? It was the American Indians or the Native Americans. And the Native Americans who welcomed the Pilgrims were the Wampanoag tribe. Nowadays, they're associated with the Iroquois tribe. And also, we have another question that we can take a look at here. The country down here, or the continent down here is Africa. So you can, so how do you spell Africa? It's A-F-R-C-A. So you can think about what group of people was taken to America and sold as slaves, and those are African. So again, we have three questions. Who lived in America before the Europeans arrived? The American Indians. The question is, what group of people was taken to America and sold as slaves? The Africans. And the final thing is that, why did the Europeans come to America? And a lot of them were coming for economic opportunity, but the usual answer is freedom. So we always need to talk about this in terms of freedom, as opposed to they came over associated with slavery, which will eventually lead to the Civil War. And we're also going to be looking ahead a couple hundred years. This happened, it came over in 1620. We got to remember that in 1776, the Americans started the American Revolutionary War. And so they were fighting against Great Britain, or some people say England, but actually it's Great Britain. And because they wanted to have freedom, they didn't want to pay high taxes, and they wanted their own self-government. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. We're talking about the Pilgrims' early life, and this is very similar to how people were in the United States when people first come. They have problems. They're trying to get to know the housing and the environment. And a lot of my students come over and they get sick the first year because it's so cold, really different from the environment in China and Vietnam. So let's take a look at some of these, this text. The Pilgrims' new town was called Plymouth, after a town in England. Plymouth houses were similar to the houses in England. In the first year, many pilgrims got sick and died. The next year, the Wampanoag Indians helped the pilgrims. The Indians were the pilgrims' teachers. The Indians helped the pilgrims build houses, grow plants, and hunt animals. Life was better in Plymouth the next year. So the first year is tough. It's always tough moving to a new place, but the second year is usually better. Okay, let's go on to the next part. So I want to take we're going to talk about one of the pilgrims that came over. His name is Richard Moore, and we're going to try to make a connection between his simple story and your story and the N400. So one of these questions, so there's a lot of questions that are asked during the N400. So you're always listening for those key question words: who, what, where, when, how long, and again, who. So let me bring this up a little bit more. So the question is, who the Pilgrims were 102. They were from English people, so English. Now the French did come, but they were in Canada, and the Spanish did come, but they were down in Mexico and South America. We're talking about the East Coast of Middle America, and so that's the English. What? Well, his name was actually George. Let's just do a quick check to make sure I'm right. Oh, not George. How silly of me. It is Richard. Okay. So his name was Richard. And where did he come from? He came from England. When did he come? I came to North America in 1620. How did he came? Well, at that time, there's no cars, there's no planes. He came by boat. And maybe you know the name of the boat. It's the Mayflower. How long did it take? It took 2 months. Can you imagine being on a small ship for 2 months? It's been very, very difficult. And who helped when they came? The American Indians helped them. And why did they come? Many of the Pilgrims came for religious freedom, or they simply came for freedom. So now let's take a look at making a connection to our own story. So you would say, and this is very similar to the N400, they always ask you, they're going to ask you about what is your name. They're going to ask you, where are you from? And so a lot of our people in Milpitas would say, I'm from Vietnam, I'm from China, I'm from India. So they're always going to ask you about the country of origin. They're going to ask you about, when did you get here? And so they always want to know, particularly your date of permanent residence. They don't want to know the day you come to America. They want to know the day of your green card. And how long did it take? Well, one of my students just told me that it took 18 hours to go from Vietnam to San Francisco, California. So it takes a long time and you're exhausted after the travel. And who helped you in the United States? A lot of people are saying that their family members helped them, the people that came over first. I want to dig a little bit more into, why did people come here? This is a question that is usually asked during the interview. Why do you want to be an American citizen? Why did you come here? So a lot of people come here for freedom, or they come for economic opportunity. A lot of people said that they come for their family. So that was really good to hear. Some people come for education. They want to go to schools. They want to come for peace. There's wars in many different countries, in Afghanistan and Syria and the Ukraine. So they come to live in a peaceful country. Some people come for jobs. And I know my old grandfather came from Germany to the United States because there were no jobs in Germany at that time. A lot of people will do anything for their children. So they say, I want to have a better life for my children. So this is something that's very popular to say. Some people say that they come for their health. They might be seeking medical treatment. Many people come for a better life. Again, if we have peace, there's some people come for war. My family came from Italy partly for jobs, but because there was an earthquake or a volcano that blew up near our village. So that's what they were looking for. Some people come because there was a terrible hurricane that destroyed their towns. Sometimes they're in a famine where there's absolutely no food. And then there's a tsunami. So it comes in, wipes out the town. So you can think about what you want to say to the USCIS officer. Why did you come to the United States? Why do you want to become an American citizen? And we're going to be talking about, now we're going to connect up with what we just learned about the Pilgrim story with the citizenship interview. So here we go. So here we have, we have the first question, what is your legal name? And my legal name is, so you have your first name, your middle name, and your last name. What is your country of birth? Again, this is a question that a lot of people will start with where are you from? My country of birth is, a lot of people would say Vietnam or China. Again, country of nationality is usually the same. However, some people are born in one country, but they are actually citizens of another country. For example, some people are born in China, but they are citizens of Taiwan. Or they were born in India, but they're citizens of Pakistan. So this is a common occurrence. Do not worry. USCIS officers are usually familiar with these stories. They ask for your home address. Now, usually when I record, I don't ask my students to give their home address for privacy reasons, but they always want to know your street address and your city, state, and zip code. Do you work? So they're always asking about financial support. And a lot of times people need to take care of their families. Have you traveled outside the United States? And a lot of times people say, yes, I have traveled outside of the United States. This one's about marital status. So are you widowed? And so the options are single, married, widowed, or divorced. And single means you've never been married. Married means, yes, you have a partner now. Widowed means your partner has died, your husband or wife has died, and divorce means that the marriage has been ended. They will always ask you about your children. They will ask about your children's names, the date, places of birth, if they're American citizens, and if they live with you or not. This is a great question. Have you ever committed a crime? And I hope you say, no, I have never committed the crime. I follow the law. And do you support the US Constitution? Yes, I support the US Constitution. A novel is called Holding the Bag. And some of these are some of the vocabulary that we're dealing with. Of course, here we have, you're able to listen to the story. So please go ahead and do that. And then we have definitions that are linked up to the Longman dictionary. Let's go over some of the pronunciation now. We have appendicitis, backseat, breakfast, change, concerned, corner, discount, downtown, forward, hospital, hungry, leaning, mirror, rear view, serious, stomach, suddenly, and wallet. So take a look at this vocabulary. Look it up if you are not familiar with it. When we take a look at Legacy, the first chapter was just an introduction to him and his family. Let's move on to the second chapter. So the second chapter, he's a cab driver and this is his first fare of the morning. So he's already he's got up at 5 o'clock. He's already driving at 6 a.m. So here he has his first person in the morning who needs to go to a hospital. Well, when you need to go to a hospital, you think, oh my gosh, something might be serious. So the person, when they get in, they say, I need to go to a hospital at a very specific street, the 23rd Street. And so he thinks, Nagasi goes, good, I'll get $20. So it'll be the fare plus the tip. That's a good way to start the day. But then what happens? Now the man is physically acting like he's ill. He's having problems with his stomach. And Nagasi gets worried. He's like, okay, I'll drive faster. And then now the man says, I only have $14. But Nagasi has a really good heart. So he says, don't worry, I'll take care of you. $14 is okay. But now what happens? When he gets to the hospital, he goes, do you have change for a $20 bill? Nagasi is so surprised. What do you mean? $20. Why are you asking me for a discount? He says, I work at this hospital. My stomach hurts because I'm hungry and I need $6 for breakfast. So did the man want to pay the full fare? He didn't want to do that. So let's go on. I want to basically reduce a little bit of review of the vocabulary. We have discount, change, wallet, rear view mirror, appendicitis, and downtown. So let's take a look at the first one. When we talk about discount, discount is always a reduction of the usual price of something. So again, that's discount. We have change, and change is usually the money back you get when you pay for something, or sometimes you basically get the smaller amount of, so you have a $20 bill, you want two $10 bills or four $5 bills. So this is the money you get back. A wallet is usually a case that holds your money. Rear view mirror is so that the allows the driver to see behind them. Not only are they looking at the cars behind them, they're also looking at the people. That's a way that people can protect them. So again, this is rear view means that it allows the driver to look behind. Appendicitis is an illness of the appendix, which is part of the intestines. And downtown is usually the center of the city. Okay. And now let's take a look at some of the vocabulary at the top. We have the verbs need to go, is leaning, is driving, looks in, flagging down, get in, says, and thinks. So it's just before 6 a.m. and Nagasi is, what is he doing? He is driving around. He sees a man. What is he doing? What is the man trying to do? He is flagging him down. Flagging means, just like you think about a flag, what does a flag do? It means to wave, okay? So flagging him down on the corner. The man opens the back door and what does he do? Gets in or enters the taxi or board. You wouldn't say boards, that's for a bus. Gets in. Then he says, what does he want to do? He wants to, then he says, I need to go to, need to go. I need to go to the hospital on the 23rd Street. Nagasi thinks This will be an almost $20 fare plus tip. After a few minutes, Nagasi looks in his rearview mirror. The man is leaning in his seat. He doesn't look comfortable. And he says, "Ugh," says the man, "my stomach." Okay, that's great. So you can take a look at the rest of the story here. You can practice the dialogue that they have, and you could practice some of the listening and some of the questions. Okay, the final thing that I would like to talk about today is I would like to talk about one of the things on uscis.gov. How do you find the field office? And that's usually where you get your fingerprints done and also your interview. Some places have them separate. Maybe you'll do your fingerprints at a service center, another service center, but we're going to talk about field offices today. So you're going to go to tools. Then in the tools, you're going to pick online tools. You're going to go to office locator, and an office locator, we're going to go look for field offices, because that's usually where we're going to get our fingerprints done, and we're also going to get our interview. Now here, there's a lot of things that are advisory notices. Things about office closures. Sometimes they do it for the weather, sometimes it's for COVID-19. But the very, very bottom of this long page, finally it asks you to search for a zip code. Our zip code in Milpitas is 95035. We do a search. This is the location of our field office, 1450 Coleman Avenue, Santa Clara, California, 95050. I plugged this into the Lyft app, and also Lyft app, our local cab app, and also Uber, and got all sorts of different prices and all sorts of different times. So this is something that's going to be interesting for you to do, is to basically practice locating your field offices, seeing how much it's going to cost, seeing the approximate time, looking at the route to the field office, and just get to know this area a little bit more. So thank you. Thank you very much for practicing the citizenship interview with us today. And I'll promise to record the next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.